Welcome to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright. This show is all about honoring you as a spiritual being having a human experience. You are here for a reason, and it's no mistake that you are here on Earth right now. Spirit has guided you to this very moment in time, so you could hear the messages Pam is about to share with you. She is a multidimensional healer, light language channel, transformation coach, wife and mother, committed to helping you discover the tools and practices to empower you to live the best life you can. You get to choose the spirit path you take. You can connect to the spiritual guidance already all around you. Get ready to live a fully empowered life. This is the Empower Me Show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Empower Me Show. My name is Pam Bright. I'm your hostess for this beautiful program called the Empower Me Show. We are here every single week from noon to 1 Pacific time. So if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. If you're a return guest, thank you very much again. Listening in again from wherever you are coming from, because I know we do have folks that are not only from the United States, but from other countries as well. So welcome to this hour of transformation for who you are as a spiritual being having a human experience. So I'm so glad you're here. And Maetreyi Ma is my guest for today, and I'm so grateful that she has come as well to spread her wisdom and her wisdom from the beings that she works with in this lifetime. So welcome to the show. Before we get started, we're going to actually get ourselves all back together into this now space, because I don't know about you, but I tend to have myself a little fragmented sometimes doing my life, right? We get very busy in what we get to do, and then we forget, oh, wait, I need to stop and pause and breathe and center and get back here to right now. So let's do that right now with this moment using our breaths, our sacred breaths that help us stay alive. And just go ahead and focus in on that centermost place inside of yourself where your breath exists. And if you notice, your breath has a consciousness all its own. It doesn't have to think about its existence. It simply is present. And sometimes it's shallow, and sometimes it's large, sometimes it's stops for whatever reason, and then it comes back again. But it's an essence in and of itself. And so we thank this breath for breathing us into life, into our core selves. And so as we breathe, we remember who we are as soul and as human. And we thank both of these presences for being here now. We honor ourselves as soul, and we honor ourselves as human. And this may be a new concept for some of you, but simply allow that honoring to present itself to you now. And I'm going to allow the light beings now to come in and ground that energy in fully into this now space, creating a bridge from present day, present moment, human existence to the beings of light and love from the beyond that allow themselves to come in and assist us. Ela tarakia taramadehi nazaramaye hu nazarame ayamanaye chanamananaye hu kanazanaye giadehi yahuye Uye nazanahi ananehi. And we ask the Earth Mother now to come in fully and present her energy into our bodies to allow us to feel grounded and safe and comfortable in our own skin. We thank her energy for being present in our bodies. Etasaraki terabakia tukucharabaki samba yesarabai terarabi. Ukerabanaki saramakaya. Kunte sashena makishena maise. Hosena makita ramakita ramai. And you can ask any of your guides that you work with to come and be with you now too. Atena makisa makia ma neche. Tukuma makia taramaki. Oho senamakai. And when you're ready, you can breathe again into yourself and come back into this now. Welcome back. Maetreyi Ma, I'm so glad you're here with us in this hour of transformation. Thank you for coming.
Yes, wonderful to be here.
Great. So we are going to talk about this beautiful journey that you have been on in your lifetime, in this lifetime. And we'd love to hear kind of where you started from and where you are now, because I know it's been quite a journey from what I have read, little bit I've read about you, and this beautiful being called Baba that you are entwined with and embraced with and really hold this beautiful energy inside of yourself. So tell us a little bit about you and what we can know about you and your wisdom.
Well, I started out many years ago as a child feeling a divine presence. And it moved from there through experiments with psychedelics in my early 20s to meditation. And from meditation, in the process of meditation, I connected with, again, that divine presence, but this time the divine presence spoke to me, told me his name was Baba. It always, even in my childhood, seemed like a male presence, although I didn't know who it was. The only presence I'd ever heard of like that was Christ, that was a divine presence. And so, but when in my meditation in my early 20s, the presence came as Baba. And then I had this deep internal divine guru experience of this divine being. And I felt like a lot of different experiences happened, but it's like as the words came, it was like the facets of a jewel with perfect justice, perfect love, perfect beauty, like that. The divine aspects came. And then as I deepened into it, I had some very powerful experiences. And the inner Baba told me to go to India to be with my physical guru, Sri Sri Anandamurti Baba. And so I left for India and spent 8 or 9 months in India with my guru and had a lot of different experiences there, which I go to in my book. And then I went through a lot of many years after that of integration, I would say, and grounding in the world. We all know, like you have kids too, and so I went through the process of grounding spirit into the world, having family, getting very grounded. Because there was a point where, towards the end of my stay in India, I had an experience where I became very ill, and I think I was just running so much spiritual energy through that my body couldn't handle it. And then I I ended up in a hospital, and with a amoebius and a kidney infection, I'd lost a huge amount of weight, and I thought I was dying. And I reached out to Baba, and he wasn't there. And I went, oh, this is a message. And basically the message was, you can't kill this body in the spiritual quest. You really need to ground into the world. And so then I spent many years, going back to school, getting my PhD, raising my children, meditating, but meditation went from 10 hours a day to half an hour if I was lucky, So it changed. And then I had some very deep experiences again. And my guru left his body, and I was given guidance. It was hard for me, and I went through it, I would say, a dark night of the soul. But what came out of it was that I started bringing through these teachings that I feel like Baba. I don't feel like Baba is an entity. I feel like Baba is a doorway. And behind that doorway stands the infinite, stands the one, right? So rather than being an entity, it is the congenial form the one has taken for me to
Beautiful.
relate. Yeah, that's really, and I've come to that understanding through many, many years of experience. First I really didn't know what was going on. It was quite challenging. But over the years, I've really come to understand the nature of guru. That the guru is, they say guru, God, and self are one. Guru can manifest through a person, but guru is the infinite one. And any deities, any gods, any beings that you see that in subtle beings that you see the one through become doorways to open to the one eternal essence.
I love that.
And for me, all of creation, what I've come to understand through the yogic practices and the deep relationship to Baba, and a lot of what I learned from Baba internally, and then I read in books afterwards. So it was a lot of internal learning at first, and I've really come to see that all beings, all existence is within, and I am within everything, and everything is within me. That there is one eternal essence that we're all part of, a wholeness that we all share. That everything that exists, the leaf on the tree, I have this beautiful tall plant in front of me, so I can look at these beautiful leaves and think, there's the divine being embodied in this plant, embodied in these leaves, embodied in the nature I see out my window, embodied in everything that surrounds me, embodied in you, embodied in everyone who's listening to this, that divinity is everywhere and encompasses all essence and all being. We may be blind to it. We may not experience that because we're so oriented towards the physical and towards our sensory experience that we don't notice our deeper nature. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it isn't just inside of us, it's inside of us and all around us, and everything has that. And I think for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, the babbling brook, the bird chirping, the messages of God come everywhere.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And that's a lot of what comes through in this program is, right? We talk about empowerment, right? It's the Empower Me show. So it's really what can empower you, the listener, as you are experiencing this show, right? And what Maetreyi Ma is saying, and I say it too, is that there really is no difference between you and I in our essence of who we are as soul, right? Our soul, my soul, your soul, decided that it was going to split off from the whole soul of creation, right? So at our essence, we are all one. And then we have these individual expressions in the world called humanity, called human, right? Called called tree, called animal spirit, called grass, called water. It's all a part of the whole of the one or the divine essence.
And we can believe that we've split off. We can believe that we're separate. But the actuality is deep inside, there is no separation.
Mm.
It's a perceptual belief. You know, I have all these experiences. The experiences must belong to somebody. They belong to me, right? And therefore, I'm an individual. I'm unique, which is beautiful. And you are an individual and unique. But you're in the unique flower in the garden of eternity, you know, in the wholeness of being. You're never split off. You're never alone. You're never separate.
That's
You,
correct. I love that. I love that. And when you first started talking about Baba and talking about the essence of this being that was an individual, human, and then now it's an essence that you connect to and is part of you. What I thought of right away is the essence of the Christ. We know the Christ consciousness was within Jesus the Christ, right? When Jesus came to live on earth, he embodied this Christ essence, which, you know, in our Bible, it talks about that Christ and the Father were one. Well, the Father being all that is, right? The divine. I mean, we could really go into the semantics of all of this, but really at the essence, when we look at our essence, we are always light. We are always essence. We are always energy. We are always part of the whole of who we are. So this is a beautiful conversation. And I hope that those of you who are listening are getting something from this conversation. And we're going to continue having this conversation. And we'd love to hear from you, the listener. So you want to talk to us, the phone number is 1-800-930-2819. We'd love to take your call. We can also hear from you on the chat line at transformationtalkradio.com. So you can chat in the chat line and let us know that you are listening. You'd like to talk to us that way as well. So let's talk about the writing that you're now doing. I'm guessing that you wrote several books. Is that correct?
I have a number of books. There are three that I've written in recent years that I focus on. One is Dharma for Awakening and Social Change. It talks about how, you know, Dharma is our flow towards the infinite, right? You know, and when that manifests, it manifests uniquely in our own personal Dharma that we each have, our own personal way of being aligned with ourselves, right? But it also is in society. And so that book talks a lot about the ancient teachings of yoga and how they relate to modern social issues and about Dharma and personal and collective. And then Living Love, the Yoga of Yama Niyama, it talks about yoga's principles for being in the world, the ethical principles, but they're not just ethics. As a psychologist, I really see them and write about them as ways of being in the world that foster the ability to align with yourself and the infinite. And to, like, if our behaviors and our actions in the world and our thoughts are really out of alignment, it becomes very hard to connect with that divine nature. But when we act in the world and take attitudes that align us, then we can connect with that divine nature, that infinite Christ consciousness, as you said, more, you know. So that's another thing that I focused on. And then my latest book that just came out in January is called Into the Heart of the Infinite. And it's my own personal journey story. Into the Heart of the Infinite, a spiritual memoir of an extraordinary mystical journey. And that's about my own mystical journey that I've just skimmed over very, very briefly. But it's my quest and how that has gone in my life. And it sounds like you had an opportunity to read a little bit of it here and there.
Little bit here and there, but we'd love to hear some of the highlights, like what, you've lived some years in this body. So what have been some of the really big, like eye-opening, like what just happened? We'd love to hear those kinds of things that you can share that still gives people the, oh, I want to know more. I want to read these books. I want to know more about you.
So I think, actually one of the deep experiences that, there have been a lot of things, but one of the things that kind of stands out in my mind is actually when I was young and I experimented with LSD. And it was back in the hippie days, of when people did that. And Timothy Leary was a big figure in the psychedelic movement. Psychedelics have since become a thing now at this time that a lot of people work with plant medicine. But and my journey has definitely steered away from all of that, but into deeper meditation. But I did a series of LSD experiences that brought me into a spiritual process where I was going deeper and deeper every time I took the medicine until as I go deeper, time would slow down, and I would experience, like I'd look at a leaf and my mind would go out into the molecular, the atomic, and I would just, everything would just sort of into one, right? And then I would come back from the one. And as I went deeper and deeper into this unitary consciousness, time slowed down. And then one time I went so deep that I experienced that time actually stopped. And I saw a, a light pierce a veil. And as the light pierced the veil, it went through a kind of void and pierced another veil. And the realization, I was far from being a person in a body at that point. The realization came that I had created all of this within my mind and the whole manifest universe. I saw stars and galaxies collapsing into themselves until it was all gone.
Hmm.
And there was just something between being and non-being, the void. Consciousness without form. And then there was no memory beyond that. And when I came back into time, the time again was on this trip getting moving faster and faster. And I realized that as I came to normal time, space, continuum reality, I felt like I had been out of time. I had been out of existence. And it was beautiful. It felt odd to be back. Like, how did I get back into this dream? It was like entering a dream, this reality is like a dream. How did I get back here when I had exited this, But obviously there was something that pulled me back into physical existence and into this realm. And although I felt that I was always in that timeless place, I think we're all in that timeless. Consciousness is always in that timeless place, simultaneous to creative process. And that experience was very profound. It had a very difficult, I think after that I tried to take plant-based medicines again to get to those deeper realms, and the door, I knew the door was closed, and then I had bad experiences. I tried to push something that was closed.
Yeah. Yeah. And haven't you found too that through other ways of meditation that experience can actually be created without taking the hallucinogens?
Absolutely. Then I went on to meditation as an avenue, and then I met Baba, and I have found that that was all that I felt that the hallucinogens could do was open the door.
Mm.
And when that door was closed, it was closed because it's not a door to something sustainable. It is a door. It's a look-see door. And then what I found was sustainable was through meditative practices and through connection to divine being and through the grace of a passionate love that grew and grew for the divine. And understanding more the nature of all of this, that over the years, the unitary wholeness of being really blossomed. And all that is here, as well as all that is in the void, in the space, in the non-manifest and the manifest, is all part of one amazing whole of being. And I think it's only through the deepening of connection within that happens. So that was a beginning to a journey that has had its struggles and its hard points. I think the spiritual journey is not for the weak of heart.
Well, we are, I always say we are courageous. We are courageous being in a body. Yes. Absolutely. So let's take a break. And then when we come back, we would love to hear some more from Maetreyi Ma. And we'd also love to hear for our listeners some tips, tools, and techniques that you have found on your journey that really help with opening that doorway that we are all seeking for unity with the divine, right? Because we're always seekers. We're always seekers in human form. We get to do that. That's our divine right as spiritual beings. And some of us are like so flooded with the to-dos of the world that we get lost with, where do I go first? Where do I go second? Oh, I'm at another turning point and now I'm not sure quite what to do, right? So we would love to hear kind of some ideas that you have and some ways that have worked for you for opening those doorways, being able to access really in a safe and healthy way, ways that work in 2024. So go ahead and get yourself some water, get a bite to eat, use the restroom, whatever you need to do, and we'll be back in a few minutes for you. Okay? We'll see you soon. Back to the Empower Me show. I am here with my special guest, Maetreyi Ma, who is sharing with us about her mystical journey and her embodiment of the divine into her own life and really how to access all of who we are as spiritual beings having human experiences. So we were just talking on the break about tools, tips, and techniques to access what our next level is, what for ourselves, what our next steps are. How do we open the door to the next thing that we want to experience in this life? And so I said, well, I often use cards to do that. So I brought in the self-compassion cards for any of you who feel drawn to those cards. And I also have the chakra cards, which are awesome. And I happen to know the little bit that I know about yoga and about the Eastern mystic tradition of yoga is that it deals with the chakra system. And that is a way to connect with the divine. And so would love to hear from you, Maetreyi Ma, how you have accessed your own chakra system and what your experience is with that.
I worked a great deal when I was younger I actually was the director of the Kundalini Research Network, which was working with people who had had Kundalini openings, and who the Kundalini is when the energy that's at the base of the spine goes through the different energy centers called chakras in the body. There are 7 main chakras along the spinal column, along the Sushumna. It's called the central column of energy. There are 7 of these chakras. And then there's other sub chakras, like in the palms of the hands and feet and things. And there's these things called nadis, which are these energy channels which connect the chakras. And there's like, 84,000 nadis. So there's lots of energy channels throughout the body. And different systems of healing use these energy channels. A lot of Chinese medicine uses energy channels. So where the chi or prana in yogic terms flows through these energy channels. So at the base of the spine, there's this energy coiled 3 times called the Kula Kundalini energy. And as this energy awakens and arises, it goes first to the first chakra, Muladhara, and it comes to the second chakra. And as it goes into the third in the Manipur, and then to the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the chakra in the head, and then finally to Sahasrara at the top of the head. And each of these chakras have an energy. They are a nexus of these energy channels moving in, and they each control certain types of behavior, certain energy fields within the body-mind structure. And so in yoga, the mind isn't just in the brain, it's throughout the nervous system as well as in the brain. And to liberate oneself from illusion and delusion, as it moves up through the chakras, you get to subtle and subtler levels of being called koshas, or levels of mind, levels of awareness. And you move to subtler and subtler levels of awareness until you're at a kind of God consciousness, a unity of all essence. And so this opening of different layers of the mind and of reality is part of what happens when this Kundalini energy rises through the different chakras. And so I worked with that Kundalini energy rising up through the chakras for many years. And then I started to work with a different kind of energy, or feel. I wasn't working with it. I was really feeling the energy of grace, which is, I feel, this divine energy that is like an opening of the sun through the clouds, and the rays fall down, There's this divine energy that comes down through the body and through the chakras and out into the world. And so there's these 2 types of energy, the individual mind reaching up towards the infinite, and the divine cosmic essence showering down through the layers of being to the material world.
I love that. So for those people that are like, well, that sounds really great, but how do I do that? What would you say to them? Like, what's your process
Well,
for accessing that?
Finding a meditation practice that connects you to divine source. You can have a mantra, you can have a visualization. Sometimes people different practices will visualize a divine being. Also doing things to get the body-mind structure integrated, like yoga postures, doing asanas or yoga postures, doing pranayams, doing breath practices, because breath is really connected to the body-mind. Doing those yamas and niyamas that I talked about, the practices for living in the world, so that make a harmony between your inner and outer life. All of those practices are like ground. You got to ground your body and your nervous system, and the yoga postures are really helpful for that. The pranayams are really helpful to integrate mind and body and raise awareness, because how we breathe makes a huge difference in our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And the practices, the yamas and the niyamas, are so important for living in the world with grace and integrity, and having authenticity, having loving kindness, having traits which would bring us into alignment, and then opening the heart. I think the really big
Oh, hi, everyone. Well, that's interesting. Our person just disappeared. I don't know if she's coming back. We were talking about yoga and the ability to come back into your essence with the divine. So I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully our person will come back. That we're with Maetreyi Ma, and hopefully she will be back with us. And for the meantime, we're talking about really affirmations that allow us to be in our own bodies with our own divine selves. And so we're going to see about some self-compassion for that. So let's see here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my hand up here and if I have Emily here with me.
Yep.
Then you tell me where I get to go with my hand to get, oh, they've already started moving because they're so excited to be with you. So which one wants to be seen?
And stop.
Stop. Okay, great. All right here. Woo! They're just moving all over the place. You guys really need some compassion today. So this says special delivery. Bring to mind someone who has enormous wells of compassion. So let's bring some energy to our Maetreyi Ma, who just is having a challenge right now, not being on camera with us. Oh, she's coming back in. Awesome. Beautiful. So as she comes back in, there she is.
I lost internet.
I understand. It happens.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
It happens. Well, as we were talking, I just continued on and we actually brought in the self-compassion cards.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, let's bring to mind someone who has enormous wells of compassion. So we were just about to send you some compassion. Imagine them sending you love right now. And so I've been imagining that whenever I've been in your presence is the massive amount of love and compassion that you hold in the world for other people. Are they saying anything? What is the expression on their face as we are thinking of these beautiful people? So as we're talking, folks, you can imagine someone right now that you would like to send some compassion to. So as we breathe and we think about sending some love, some divine love that is within ourselves, that we have received from the divine, and think about those people in your own life and just with your breath, just send it out. Your breath and your essence gets to send the love and the compassion out to others now. You can imagine that as they receive that divine love, they are then bringing that divine love back to you. And that's how it goes. We just send it out. And then, like the ocean, those waves come back to self. And then out again and back in. And that's how it all works. So welcome back to this moment in time as we're talking about the chakra system and we're talking about divine love. Here we are with all of that. So in this world of opening to connecting in with the energy centers within ourselves. Do you have a sense in yourself of how to know which chakra to focus on in any given moment of your day?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think the heart chakra, if you're going to focus on a specific chakra, is a really good, because that's the center of love, and to strengthen that. And in meditation, if you're going to focus on chakras, it's usually above Manipura. It's recommended to focus on the heart, throat, head, or the top of the head as focus points for meditation, and to bring that, because they align with different levels of your connection to the cosmos. And so they align with these different koshas, these different levels of your mind, which align with the cosmos. And so you're bringing that into alignment. But when also focusing on the heart, focusing on love divine, like you're saying, like you've been talking about compassion, having loving kindness and compassion. And then think of the nature of the infinite one, of Christ consciousness, of divine love, of the grace of the infinite, of the incredible intelligent consciousness of the universe, which has brought all creation into manifestation within it. Think of this one love, this one truth, this deep source from which we've come. And as you feel the grace of that source in your life, maybe in just little moments or things that happen, you feel the love grow in your heart. And it's that attractive force. When you have that passion, that's what brings you close to the divine. And the passion comes a lot through grace, but it's opening yourself to grace. And the other really important thing to remember is this is not about acquiring things. Like we've learned, our psychology is we acquire that which we need or want to make us feel safe, and we fear that which will harm us, right? And this is the human condition. But spirit isn't something that our ego can acquire. It's much vaster. This infinite love, this infinite God consciousness is not something we can hold within us as a new object that we've acquired. So it's not a matter of acquiring. It's a matter of letting go of all the beliefs, the constructs, particularly who you think you are, all the beliefs that define and confine you, and going, I can let go. I can fall back into divine love. I can melt into it. I can let go and melt into it. Melting process, not a grabbing and acquiring process.
Well, and what I hear is that that's actually what I've been taught, and what I've heard is that that's actually the divine feminine aspect that we are now holding on the planet. We were in the masculine for a very long time, and it did a good job. It did what it needed to do, which was to be in the world and act and persevere and bring in, look at all of the technologies that we now have available to us. That is the divine masculine at work. Now, they have been distorted, and there's been some confusion and some quarreling between the masculine and the feminine energies on our planet. And it's all been for our benefit. It's all been for our learning of how to be in the world as human. Now we have the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming together in 2024. And so as we do that, this being the month of love, the Saint Valentine and Cupid have come in yesterday in Valentine's Day. And as we know, love isn't gender. It doesn't have to be considered a gender-based or romantic-based love. It is a divine love that encompasses everything. And so when we bring both the divine feminine and the divine masculine together, we have the best of all worlds. And we can actually bring those inside of ourselves. And I actually have an activation for you this month that I am highlighting for you to be able to receive if you want that. So let me know if you want that, because it's really beautiful. And it brings both aspects together, and you get to have a ceremony of these energies coming together inside of yourself. So it's wonderful. So I'm going to grab one of these chakra cards so that we can actually connect in with our human heart and our divine heart into one. And the way we do that is we just see, okay, what's going on with our hearts these days? What's happening in the collective heart of the human existence? And so, Maetreyi Ma, I'm going to bring these up, and if I'm going to run my hand here, and if you just want to tell me when to stop, then I can grab whatever's here.
Stop.
Stop. Okay. What is going on in the human heart collectively now? All right. Oh, there's a lot of you who are experiencing isolation these days. Okay, so what's going on with that, folks? We do have a few minutes if you want to call us in or write into this, but what is your sense? I connect a lot with the global world, with the essence of what's happening. Is there anything that you want to share with us about what's happening with the isolation of the human heart, Maetreyi Ma? What's your sense of that?
I think a lot of people feel isolated these days. I think it's one of the big problems of our modern culture, and it's a result of materialism. Material culture where everybody needs to have their own TV, their own refrigerator, their own place. There's not as much connection of people and extended family and sort of that heartfelt grounding, and people find themselves isolated. And I think that Western culture has a tremendous amount of isolation, and it's one of the main causes of and I see it in my practice as a psychologist, one of the main causes of depression that people experience. And depression is rampant in our culture. So a lot of people experience depression and sadness and the pain of isolation. Their children are far away, their family is far away, they're disconnected. Our divorce rate is extremely high. Holding a family together is really a challenge in today's world. And so it's a deep pain, particularly, I think, in Western societies, that is a cause of a lot of psychological suffering.
Yes, I hear that. So in the last few minutes we have, let's do some repair with that, folks, okay? I believe that every single moment we can begin anew. Every single moment. And it simply starts with a decision. It just starts with a commitment and a willingness. So those of you who are listening that are willing now, especially if you are feeling that isolation and feeling that yearning for the divine, let's now ask the divine fully and completely. Just say help. Say, please come. Please come in now into my heart. I want you to live right here with me. This is simply a request and an invitation. Please come and live in my heart so that I don't feel so alone. Allow me to feel your presence now. Ena sarayetara maikeu. Anasanaye tunamaye. Anasanaye kunanaye tu. Anayetanamaye. And it's simply, you can just put your hands right on your chest and invite that being in, that essence of the love and light of God to come in right now. If the word God triggers you, then use a different word. But that essence of love and compassion and grace, just invite it in right now. That cuts through the isolation that we might be feeling right now. Beautiful. So Maitreyi, how do we get this book? You mentioned your giveaway is a book about mysticism.
Yeah, this is my latest book, but I also have another one that is a small book on mysticism. And it's on my website at yogama, www.yogama.info. So it's YOGAMA, yogama.info.
Great. So you can read about what is mysticism? What does the mystic do? What is that all about, right? But it's really about opening to our divine selves and connecting in with the divine and what that all means. So especially if you're curious about the yogic traditions and the Eastern medicine, right? Definitely open yourself and give yourself that gift. You also have some other podcasts and other shows that you're doing on your website, aren't you? Or connecting in with some other speaking engagements?
I have babatalks.info, which is where there's a lot of podcasts. And then I have a YouTube also that under Maetreyi Ma. And they're all about I bring through these Baba talks, these talks about the nature of the God self.
Lovely.
The divinity. And so these talks, there are many, many of them. I give them often. So
great.
There's podcasts on YouTube and on my website at yogama.info.
That's beautiful. So Maitreyi is spelled, I got to read this again. It's Maetreyii and then Ma. So Maetreii Ma. And if you look at Maetreii Ma, you're going to find all kinds of stuff for her and what she's doing. And for me, if you want to connect to me, I'm here every Thursday from noon to 1. You can also go to my website at brightbutterflynetwork.com. That's BRIGHT. And then butterfly, like it sounds, BUTTERFLY, and then network, NETWORK.com. And especially if you want to have that amazing activation of the divine feminine, divine masculine together, this is the month to do that and get your free hour-long coaching session follow-up after that. So love to hear from you. Love you guys a lot. Thank you for tuning in once again. And Maetreyi Ma, thank you for being my special guest. It was wonderful to spend time with you. And I hope that we can continue to connect throughout time. Thank you all for tuning in, and your life is up to you. So make it a great day. All right. We will see you next week with another special guest. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empower Me Show with Pam Bright on Transformation Talk Radio. Tune in to learn more about living a fully empowered life. Remember that your life is up to you, and you can choose the spiritual path you are on. There is spiritual energy and wisdom in everything and everyone around you. Listen carefully for what the universe is trying to tell you in every moment. You are already being guided along your journey. Call upon your spirit guides anytime you need help with anything. Know that you are safe in every moment, even if it seems that you are not. For more information about Pam Bright, visit brightbutterflyenterprises.com or email theempowermeshow@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening. We hope to see you next week.